You know, half the challenge with running teams in a restaurant is getting team buy-in. And what I discovered was that when I tried to get the teams to self-organize and I told them that they could pretty much organize their own rota in any way they wanted, there was one proviso, is that they could only obviously get somebody to cover them for a shift who had the skill set to be able to do their job. So we had a situation, for example, like a barman would like to have a day off, but he could only get somebody who was fully trained as a barman. And in the old days we had two barmen, and so, you know, it was a one or the other. But what would happen if somebody was sick? It would cause a lot of problems, and that barman would maybe have to work 7 days a week until the other guy came back. So I turned around and said, well, if you want to organize your own rota and we don't have a manager who's actually going to be doing this for you, then you're going to be in a position where you have to find a team member who can do your job. So we then said, well, what about having a fully cross-functional team where every team member could do everybody else's job to a proficient level? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily, as a, you know, barman has to have some specialized skills, so he has to do the stock taking and so on. But to get them up to a level where they could just run the bar for a night and make the drinks, make the cocktails, make the coffee and so on, wasn't actually that complicated. And so they had a real vested interest, because I said, you can have a day off whenever you want, as long as you can get somebody to cover you. So there are times when some team members really want to work extra hard and they want some extra shifts, so they're very happy to cover the person for the shift. So instead of what historically was a situation where team members would be protecting their position, they didn't want anybody to learn their position because they felt vulnerable that they might lose their job because somebody else could do their job better than them, or so whatever. Suddenly you had every single team member, which we still have today, really trying hard to get every other team member to learn their job. So, because they understand that now they have the freedom, because whenever they want to have a day off or whatever, they're organizing it amongst themselves. They're not going to a manager and arranging it. So we now have 12 people on our front of house team, and every single person can do everyone else's job. And it has completely transformed the business. Morale has gone through the roof, and each one of these building blocks was amazing. But I had originally tried to get the concept of getting a cross-functional team, but it wasn't until you got their buy-in, because they could really understand the reason why it was practical. And obviously I gave them an incentive, which was, you know, you have the freedom, the autonomy to decide when you work and when you don't work. And, you know, if you want to have a 2-week holiday or a 3-week holiday, that's absolutely fine, as long as somebody can cover your job. And as I said, you know, there's a sense of freedom within the team, and tremendous sense of heightened morale. And at the end of the day, I think that buys a lot of loyalty for the company, and my team members seem to be talking about staying for longer. Several of them have booked holidays well into the latter part of next year. We haven't even finished this year yet. And so, you know, obviously they're thinking about staying with the company for a long time, which is one of the great challenges of having a restaurant or any business, is keeping stable teams. Anyway, I hope you'll find that useful, and I look forward to talking to you about my next subject, which is going to be exactly the technical side of how my teams organize their rota and how they got together as a self-organizing team. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.